Hello, my name is Brian McLaury. I'm from Washington, D.C., and I'd like to tell you a little bit about my life and primarily my travel experiences. Living in Washington, D.C., when I was a kid, I played lots of sports, and sports were my life. I, uh, I played soccer as a kid, I played American football, I wrestled, and I played a sport called lacrosse. And I wanted to go to college to play lacrosse. I ended up going to the University of Miami, where I studied the business side of healthcare and took primarily business classes. After 3 years, I decided that I needed to get a fresh start, and I transferred to Virginia Tech, where I studied for 2 years and had primarily A's. In my travel experiences as a kid, I mainly traveled with my family. I went to lots of vacation destinations like Mexico, Jamaica, Bahamas. I went skiing with my father in Vermont. I went to Colorado. Um, I saw the Grand Canyon and other national parks with my grandfather. Um, in my last college semester that I just finished, so I finally graduated. I I was studying primarily marketing classes with a focus of teaching English and creating social change and understanding about community buy-in, how to get other people to desire something, a product or whatever. And That was in a place called Lugano, Switzerland, which is an Italian-speaking province in Switzerland. You may have just heard that motorbike over there. Right now we are in Aoneng Krabi. So after my last semester, I was a little bit disappointed because of coronavirus that uh, the surrounding countries, Germany, uh, France, Netherlands, um, Austria. If I were to have gone to one of those countries, when I came back to Switzerland in the college dorm I was staying in, I would have had to quarantine for 2 weeks, which just wasn't a possibility for me. Um, I was really disappointed with that, and so I wanted to continue traveling because I'm young and I want to be on my own and I want to see more of the world. And so I decided I'm going to Thailand. Uh, my family might be a little bit worried, but for me, I feel great to be on my own, and I, I really like the culture here. The people are very nice. The food is healthy, natural, and delicious. I eat lots of pad thai, which are noodles with some vegetables and your choice of chicken, fish, shrimp, or pork. Lots of fried rice, which is very delicious here. Um, Here is only a very short scooter ride, short run, or a long walk to the beach. And the beach is beautiful here. It's a beach that's surrounded by mountains. You may be able to see in the background, and it's truly a heaven on earth. Want to I want to be in Southeast Asia because there are so many places here that I've studied about as a geography major, but only until you actually see a place can you really learn about the place. So I want to go to China. I want to go to South Korea, maybe North Korea, uh, Vietnam, Malaysia. There's so many places that it's just a short plane ride and a pretty cheap plane ticket by these standards over here. Um, and Teaching English would actually facilitate that because all these countries hire English-speaking professors. Um, and To talk about more about understanding a culture, but you have to go there. Like in my last semester, uh, it was only a short train from Switzerland to Milan, Italy, and from Milan, I flew to Istanbul, where I I went to Turkey for the first time, and is another one of those places that you hear about, but until you actually go there is when you actually can experience the culture. And I saw how European and Arab and Asian cultures blend together, and before I used to think of them all just separate, but it the first law of geography is that everything more near each other is more related to each other, and everything more distant is more unrelated. And that sounds obvious, but it applies to things like cities too. Like a city in China is more like life in a city in New York compared to farms. And farm life in China is more like farm life in New York. And of course, farm life in China is more like farm life in Thailand because of the proximity. Um, Recently, in this past year in the fall, so two semesters ago, I was only taking a couple of classes, and I think this is what gave me the confidence to go to Thailand on my own. I I wasn't happy with my mother telling me all the things that I need to be doing, and I just decided I'm gonna go off on my own and drive my car around the United States. So I drove for about 2 weeks, seeing a bunch of different states. My first trip was to go to Shenandoah National Park, which is only 40 minutes away from my house, and I'd never been there just because I just had never decided to go. And my mom was making chicken wings that night, my favorite meal, and I knew that if I had stayed there for chicken wings that night, she would have made something delicious the next night too. She didn't want me to go. She didn't want me to live out of bed in the back of my car, but for me, it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. After Shenandoah, my goal was to make it to the Great Lakes. In America, they have 7 Great Lakes, and my goal was to make it to Lake Erie, which is in Cleveland, Ohio. But Cleveland, Ohio is about 8 hours away from where I was, so I had to decide on a map what was in between there, and I made it to Pittsburgh, one of these places that I've heard a lot about but never actually experienced it myself. I'd had a negative impression about Pittsburgh before I visited there, but once I visited there, it was a beautiful city. It did have lots of industry, lots of coal, smokestacks, but what made it beautiful was it's one of the only cities where I saw all that, but all those industries were also surrounded by trees, and there was so much fresh air and had a beautiful river. After Pittsburgh, I did make it to Cleveland, Ohio, which I was not a big fan of, but I made it to Lake Erie, and once I actually ended up seeing the lake, it was intimidatingly big. It was like an ocean. It was like nothing I've ever seen before. I couldn't believe that it was a lake. And then I started driving west, Joe McKenna, and stayed there for a night, saw the city of Chicago, walked around a little bit, and my goal was to go see a bunch of national parks in the Northwest. But as I was driving west and stayed one more night, it was pretty cold in my car, and where I was going was even more cold, so I had to alter my plans and just decided, all right, well, I'm gonna go south because the south is more warm. And I was like, well, what's south? Texas. So it ended up becoming a trip to go to Texas, and on the way I saw St. Louis, Missouri. I saw Memphis, Tennessee, where Elvis started his music career in rock and roll. I saw Little Rock, Arkansas. I saw, and then I finally ended up making it to Texas, where I saw Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and after seeing Texas, Texas ended up becoming my favorite state in the United States. I wish I had gone there sooner, but as a kid, you don't make decisions on your own like that to just get up and go. And I highly recommend going to Texas to anyone that wants to go see the United States. After Texas, I went to New Orleans, Louisiana, which is famous for Bourbon Street and its big parties. And despite coronavirus, Bourbon Street was still open and active. And then so after New Orleans, I got tired and decided to come home, and had one stop in Mississippi, and then drove home back back to Washington D.C. And you know, traveling is just important to me because you see all these places on TV, you read about them on the news, but only until you actually go there can you really like experience somewhere. And experiencing different cultures to me is just one of my favorite things, and I hope to continue to in the future. Thank you for listening to my presentation.